Video diary, here we go. The differences between males and females. The genetics of the embryo. When the egg is fertilized and the embryo becomes a baby. At a certain time, the embryo gets the Y chromosome from the father. And at a certain time in pregnancy, the baby starts developing into a male. And you have one female. You get one sex chromosome from each parent. You get one sex chromosome from each parent. You get X chromosome from your mother, and you either get an X or a Y from your father. And if you get a Y from your father, you grow into a male. And the sex chromosomes in your body is part of your DNA, and it doesn't just affect your private parts. And it's more than just hormones. I mean, if a transgender teen took hormones when they were 12 years old to stop male puberty when they're a male, biological male, as I'm male at birth, they're still going to have some male characteristics because it's part of their DNA to have male characteristics. They're still going to have the wide shoulders, narrow hips. They're still going to have a prostate attached to their bladder. They're still going to have a prostate. And, girls I don't think have prostates. The point of it is it's not just hormones in puberty that determine whether you pass as a transsexual or you don't pass well. Whether you pass well or you don't pass as a transgender person, even if you're like Jazz Jennings that started out, as a kid and taking hormones when they're 12 years old. I mean, you're still going to have some male characteristics. A transgender woman is a woman, but they're not completely a woman. Even if you get a sex change, you're never going to be completely a woman. You're still going to have somewhat male because you're going to have XY chromosomes still, and you're still going to have a prostate. Even if you get a sex change, you're not going to get rid of your prostate. When they get a sex change, they don't get rid of your prostate. They'll change your hormones and you'll look more like a girl. But the Native Americans, back in ancient times, Native Americans would have people that are two-spirited persons. A two-spirited person is a male body, but they believe that the person has a male and a female spirit in the male body. That male body has a male and female spirit in that one body. And I could say that phrase. Sex is between the legs, gender is between the ears. But really, in a way, when you say gender is between the ears, you mean gender roles, gender expectations, society's gender. Somebody said, when you fill out forms in a doctor's office, you check male or female. Ultimately, I only check male or female because the box is there to check male or female. You get a sex change and you're not going to be a complete woman. You're still going to be partially a man. But society, and I think, the only viable reason to really be a transgender person or to get a sex change or take hormones is because society expects you to do it. Society, to get out of the male role. There's a difference between physical sex, like a dog. You have a girl dog and a boy dog. Your girl dog and a boy dog are brother and sister. And they look just alike, and there are a little bit of differences, biological differences in their temperament based upon hormones. And boy dogs, you neuter them to make them nicer. There are some differences between boy and girl dogs. So basically, they're not humans. Humans are the only species that come up with these elaborate gender roles that have nothing to do with our physical sex. Our physical sex is our physical body differences and some personality differences, but to come up with all these social constructs, gender social construct. Gender roles in human society is a social construct. We believe that, and there's something called unisexism, androgyny and androgynous, gender neutrality, and unisexism. In the 70s and 80s, a lot of guys had long hair, and in the 70s they came out with that movie, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And, there's a lot of gender bending in the 70s and 80s with hard rock music and what they call glam rock and glam metal. And, this Christian band called Stryper. Stryper's a Christian band. They have long hair, a lot of headbanging kids, metalheads, headbangers. Even on MTV, they had something called Headbangers Ball where they play heavy metal music. You know, and I was a teenager. I was a kid all through the 80s, and I was alive in the 70s, too. So, you know, kids that I knew in school and I went to school with, guys would have really, really long hair, and they would have a perm. Guys would get perms in the 80s. Girls get perms, but guys would get perms too. So it's possible in school to sit beside a girl and a guy, and the girl and the guy have the exact same hair. And the girl and the guy have the exact same hair. You know, the big fluffy, frizzy perm hairstyle? There will be guys and girls that have it that way. And it's a type of androgyny that, not meaning that they're gay or that they're unmasculine, but it's their androgyny. You know, it's the guy, boy and a girl. The guy wears a Metallica t-shirt. The girl wears a Poison t-shirt. They both wear jeans. It's an androgynous kind of way that even though we're straight people, it's coming down to a type of thing to where, we can meet in the middle and have common ground. We can meet in the middle and have common ground to a certain extent. We can meet in the middle and have common ground in the middle of it, Male and female playing gender-neutral gender roles. That the only real need to be a transgender or a transsexual is because society expects you to do it. It's the only way you can get out of these rigid gender stereotypes. It's the only way you can get out of these gender expectations, In a perfect society, in the 80s there was more with pop psychology in the 80s. In the 80s with pop psychology, it wasn't about transgender rights and gay rights. And today, with transgenderism, we say stuff like, wow, man, I like to play with Barbies when I was little, so it makes me transgender. No. I mean, girls can play with Barbies, boys can play with Barbies, girls can play with Tonka trucks. And they're still girls. There's nothing wrong with boys playing with Barbies and girls playing with Tonka trucks. There's nothing wrong with girls having short hair. When I was a kid, it was popular for women to have short hair. Women had short hair in the 80s. There was a trend in the 80s for women to cut their hair short. And I'm thinking of these actresses, and I think of it was ultra-modernism in the 80s. It was the culture of modern. It's got to be modern, ultra-modern. The computer age, the computer revolution. Everybody goes out and gets an Apple computer. Everybody goes out and gets an Apple IIe or whatever computer, Commodore 64 computer. And we have a computer in our house, and it's the age of ultra-modern. Ultra-modern. Modern gender roles. Modern men. We're modern men that shave our faces every day and wear sweaters. We wear sweaters, or men who wear sweaters. We stay home, sometimes men do. We stay home and take care of the kids. I am a man who is a I'm a man who's a writer. I write books for a company. I stay home and take care of the kids while I'm writing books for my company. I'm the Mr. Mom. The 80s had Mr. Mom. The movie, Mr. Mom. The pop psychology idea in the 80s that there's a difference between physical sex and gender roles. And we shouldn't put gender roles and gender expectations on people. You don't have to be a homosexual for a boy to wear a pink shirt. A man wants to wear pink, he can wear pink. He doesn't have to be a transgender or gay to wear pink. Now all the guys today in today's world have all become ultra macho, ultra masculine and ultra macho. And the only way today that a man can wear pink and not be considered gay, he has to be considered gay. If a man wants to wear pink or not be so macho, he's going to be gay, and it's okay as long as he admits he's gay and comes out of the closet. But what if he's not gay? What if he's just a man, what they call men's liberation, men's rights, men's liberation, the rights of men? Women have won their freedom and liberation, but women are going back, Women are going backward. They're losing a lot of their equal rights as women that they gained in the 70s and 80s. they're becoming more feminine again, and that's kind of like going backward. Because when I was a kid, it was popular for women. Like, I'm thinking of that blonde-headed girl with short hair. She always wore short. I can't remember anybody's name. I can't remember nobody's names. A lot of actresses. Demi Moore in Ghost, 1990. Demi Moore in Ghost. She had really short hair in that movie Ghost. You know, Demi Moore did. And you know, you can. It's the coming to a modern idea. A modern man. A modern man can make a salad. A modern man can change a diaper. A modern man can get a sweater that's pink and wear it. I mean, in J.C. Penney in the 1980s, late 80s, there were pink sweaters for men, pink sweaters for boys, pink polo shirts. 80s and late 80s was the era of the polo shirt. Men wear polo shirts. You know, pink polo shirts. Guys can wear pink polo shirts in the 80s. Telling you, I mean, you know, but you're not a homosexual because you're a guy who wears a pink polo shirt. Today, if you walk in a school with a pink polo shirt, people call you gay and say, "Are you coming out of the closet?" You know, people are losing their equality. Men need to have a men's rights movement. A men's rights movement is a right of men's equality. Women's rights in the 60s was burning bras and rebelling against gender stereotypes that you have to be feminine and stay home and be a housewife and wear a dress. In the 60s and early 70s, women started wearing pants. In the 70s, it was a mark of women's liberation and liberated women for women to wear pants. You're watching Mary Tyler Moore. You're watching Mary Tyler Moore. You're watching Rhoda. You're watching the woman who worked, whatever her name was. The working woman, the 70s, man. My mom was a young woman. She was a working woman in the 70s. You know, she was a woman of the 70s wearing pantsuits, you know. Wearing pantsuits to work in the 70s. Supporting me when I was a baby. You know, helping to work, support me when I was a baby. The working woman of the 70s, you know. Liberation. Pants on a woman, wearing pants, you know. Free from traditional gender stereotypes. In the 80s and 90s, women construction workers. Women's equality to be construction workers. Women who can step outside the box of traditional expectations of women and be freed from the prison of gender roles and strict gender roles. And the same needs to happen for a man. We call it feminist, they call it masculinist. Men's rights, men's equality. Men having the right to be who they want to be. Men nurses. Men that don't have to learn to fist fight. Men don't have to fight. You don't have to fight. You don't have to be macho. You don't have to be masculine. You don't have to do nothing wrong with admitting you're scared, weak, or whatever. Just being free from those gender stereotypes and gender roles and things that are oppressive, that oppress us people. Maybe we only check the female box for a transsexual woman because we really don't have the freedom as men to be able to just be who we want to be. In Europe, it's becoming different in Europe, and that trend in the 80s with pop psychology that gender roles, they say sex is between the legs, gender is between the ears, but gender roles were between the ears. You know, sex is between the legs, but gender roles, gender expectations are between the ears. Gender roles, gender expectations are between the ears. You know, even if you want to be a man, like a European man with a European man purse, I mean, be liberated man with a man purse. Even in some places, a man's skirt. Skirts for men. If we can make skirts for men, we can make these men's carry-alls, men carry-all purses for men. And you can make men liberated the way women are liberated. Maybe we can get rid of some of this transsexualism. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we have people posing as gay, pretending to be gay, because in the world of straight men, they're not allowed to be feminine. They're not allowed to be unmasculine in the world of straight men. In the world of straight men, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to go against the flow of manhood. You're not allowed to do that in the straight world. You have to hang out with the gay people to be feminine or be unmasculine or to go against masculinity. You got so much more of this rednecky and thug culture that's just hurting men from being liberated, you know? You know? We need liberation. We need men's liberation. Maybe we're being transgender and claiming to be transgender and gay because it's the only way we can escape these traditional oppressive gender roles. that plague our lives. Maybe we need a men's rights movement. Liberation, men's liberation. Freedom from the oppressive tyranny of gender roles that are thrust upon us by a society that wants us to be some macho kind of jerk, Freedom for all people. If we could get a unisex type society going, unisex, androgynous, men and women both returning to wearing poison t-shirts together. Girlfriend and boyfriend both wearing a poison shirt. Long hair on the boy, long hair on the girl. Both wearing jeans and a Bon Jovi t-shirt. Something in between that the girl and the guy can both live with. A place where, hey, some people in modern times and in the 50s, hey, men and women are so much different. We're opposite in every way. Men and women are different in every way, but maybe not. Maybe men and women aren't so different. Maybe men and women aren't so different. Maybe we don't need to play up the differences between men and women. You make women wear these frilly dresses and these men dress like macho jerks. You're playing up the differences between men and women. You're not like the Europeans. In England, men still wear sweaters, That's what we need to do. We don't need to play up the differences between men and women. We need to realize, it's a stereotype. And sex stereotyping. Sex stereotyping is wrong. Let's unite against sex stereotyping. One sex stereotyping is saying there's men that are 5 foot tall and there's men that are 6 foot tall. There's women that are 5 foot tall and women that are 6 foot tall. Now there's more men that are 6 foot tall and more women that are 5 foot tall. But to treat a man badly because he's 5 foot tall is gender discrimination. It's gender profiling and discrimination to say a man has to be tall. A man's supposed to be tall. A woman's not supposed to be 6 foot tall. A woman's not supposed to be Andre the Giant. A woman's not supposed to be like Larry Bird. A woman's not supposed to be 7 feet tall. Sex stereotyping. Sex stereotyping and gender discrimination. Let's stop sex stereotyping. Let's stop gender discrimination. Maybe we'll get rid of some of this transsexualism that people can be free enough to express themselves and be who they are without getting bashed because they're not manly enough or womanly enough. They need to be happy with who you are. Men and women's liberation. Thank you.